Hello, welcome to episode 15 of Korean Grammar Breakdown. The department store was extremely busy, so we are late. Baekwajam, department store, E and Ga are both subject markers. I didn't mention this before, but these are both the same marker, and E comes after a consonant and Ga comes after a vowel. I would say you guys all should know this. This is one of the first things you learn when you study Korean. You know, if I was teaching a class, I would probably teach this in the first hour anyway. But uri, pronoun we. Mei-u is an adverb meaning to, very, extremely. This has kind of a negative or very strong or negative connotation. Babada, descriptive verb meaning busy. This is an irregular verb. Okay, I'm going to slowly introduce the different classes of irregular verbs. There's about 8 of those. Also, a causal conjunction, and so, and then, because. The first clause gives a reason for the second clause, usually pretext. Sometimes it can just mean and. Nut da, descriptive verb late. Now, so we're forming 2 separate clauses and connecting them here, okay? And I'm using the subject marker on subjects of both clauses. Now, this is really the most important, in my opinion, the most important use of subject markers is in this kind of situation, or at least the most common. Baekwajam I mei-u babada, and then you're connecting that with asa, and then uri ga nutda. Department store, extremely busy. We're late, okay? Now, this irregular verb, the changes to either or here or depending on the first syllable's vowel. Okay, so combines with and the is replaced by that. Okay, we're going to talk more about that in a second. So baba plus asa creates baba plus sa, baba sa. So our book plain style, Baekwajam I mei-u baba sa uri ga nutta. Now I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this is a descriptive verb. To make the book plain style, you drop this dab and then you simply add da. So this is one of the rare times in Korean where a verb is used with its actual dictionary form. And verbs are always listed with a dictionary. These are dictionary forms here. And they're rarely used that way, okay? Action verbs are never truly used this way. And remember, with the active verb book style, you add nunda or unda. Okay, so, and to make our formal style, we change the da to sumnida here. And I'm not going to show the other styles anyway this time. Now let's look a little more. One more thing here. Now I translated this to was. Okay, now imagine you're showing up at someone's house with your group and you're explaining why you're late. Now, using this asa form, this first part is the reason for the second part. And usually a lot of times you would just assume it was in the recent past. Anyway, it's against the rule for using this. You can't put this verb in the past tense form for proper grammar anyway. You could probably find an example of it somewhere, but it's technically incorrect grammar. This is the reason. So you could translate this as is too, but you don't really, in this case, you probably wouldn't know for sure. And was, I think, is a better translation for this. So you can kind of picture that scenario. There's another because form that does allow past tense markers on the first verb anyway. And if you really needed to use that, you would use nika anyway, but we'll get back to that later. So let's talk a little more about, and the pronoun uri, we. I know I said pronouns are risky. Now this is probably the least risky pronoun to use. And there is a humble form of this. In my experience, doesn't seem very common. And If you could drop this pronoun here too, depending on the circumstances, although I wanted to show that, with the clause, with the subject, and, both clauses having a subject separately. A lot of times, obviously, if you're with a group of people and you're talking to somebody, it's pretty obvious you're talking about we. But anyway, that's one of the safer pronouns. Now let's look at the irregular rules. This is from my book directly. I cut and paste. Okay. Now, this only applies when you're conjugating to the or ought form, and it doesn't apply to irregular verbs. Otherwise, if a verb ends in this, it applies. The irregular verb is another class. So you just, you look at the previous syllable. Well, in the single syllable case, always use ah. Look at the previous syllable here, yay, you add ah, yapa. And what we just saw, ba, ba, you add ah, ba, ba. Okay? You might want to print that out or write it down. To refer back to later. It can be a little hard to remember this stuff. So there you go. If you like my channel, subscribe and have a good day. Bye.